What is up? Alright, I think we're live. We are streaming again tonight because we wanted to get a VOD for the YouTube. Hi, YouTube. And we didn't realize we had to set VODs to record on Twitch in order for them to record. And so we went to look for the VOD, and it wasn't there. Also, we wanted to just see how high quality we could go on the Twitch VODs. And so I suppose we will be coming back for another poker session, even though we just played. We might only play 2 tables. We're signing up for 2 right now. This is micro stakes on Bovada. We're going to play without delay because we don't have any followers or anything really, so we're not expecting to get sniped. Also, it's on Bovada boards and anonymous, so I don't know. If someone wants to go through the effort of sniping someone on the micro stakes, that's okay, I guess. We are waiting for our tables to pop. We're going to be recording how well the sessions go. We have this spreadsheet where we enter stuff in. The session we played about an hour ago, we lost 2 buy-ins, which isn't too bad, especially because the previous 3 sessions we've been up 4 to 6 buy-ins, and so a bit of a tough run. We ran into aces quite a few times when we were jamming during the portion where we're kind of in this 6 to 12 big blind range where we're playing a lot of just open jamming spots. And so that's kind of what happened last time, which of course no one will see because there was no VOD recorded. Still waiting for these tables to pop. I suppose I should have waited for one of the tables to pop before starting the stream, but I don't feel like if this was a recording I would just restart. So pardon the longer intro, maybe I'll edit it, and we finally get a table to pop. I believe this will be this is the Hyper Turbo, so we're going to put the Hyper Turbos over here. We're going to be sitting so over here we are going to be placing a 6 max regular pace game, which actually don't run that often, so we were a little surprised to see in the queue. Also, apologies for this rather poor layout. Kind of helps to have 2 monitors in terms of layout. We don't have 2 monitors, and so we have this poor layout. Why don't we hide our face right here behind our face? That way you don't only have to see us once. And we'll see the details. So the big difference here is the blinds are going to go up every 12 minutes, and we start off with 1,500 blinds. And here they're going up every 3 minutes, and we start off with 500 blinds. So we're going to play a ton of hypers, and then we're going to play a small amount of these. Now, we're going to come in for a 3x raise. We have this. If we only have 1 open limper behind us, we are generally assuming that these open limps are rather weak, and so we are going to raise over them if there's just 1, and then we have an opening strategy if there's multiple open limpers that revolves around, not trying to take a huge multi-way spot. And here it's very tough because we are 3-way. I think if we are betting, we're kind of doing it almost as a bluff, where we are hoping to improve to either 2-pair, some kind of draw, because we have every backdoor draw in the book, or a backdoor, and we have backdoor straight draws in the backdoor flush draw. If it checks to us, we will bet about half pot, which is kind of on the smaller size, and look to get a little bit of value out of a king. This guy bets for us. We're okay just calling. We have second pair. And we turn trips, which is a bit of a nicety. We will be raising pretty big. We also have a rather large kicker, because we assume that this guy, he might have king jack, but we don't think he'll have an ace jack, because we don't think he's going to be open limping it. And so we take down our first pot, which is nice. Yeah, feeling a little drained after already playing. Let's see, our opening size, we're going to 3x. For now, it is, I think, at this stack depth, generally we want to, was this 75 big blinds? Yeah, I like 3x here. At 100 big blinds, I like 3.5x. And we get a few callers, which is not very good for the 9s. We're going to look to shut down on most flops where overcards come. So while this flop is really good for our range, we're just going to check and not look to try and. If we bet the 9s, it's basically we're turning our hand into a bluff, and I'd rather just check. We will check some aces here occasionally, but Yeah, for the half pot bet, I think we're just going to fold here. He is betting into 3 people, so we do not have to call a lot in order to avoid being exploited. And we're going to look to see if we can open up another table. Right now, I'm looking to see if another 6x, just regular hold'em, is looking like it's going to run. Doesn't look like it, so we're going to open up another hyper turbo. These are $5 buy-ins, which means it's micro stakes. If we win it all, we get $20 roughly, a little bit less because of rake, and we buy in for a little bit more than $5, which is how the site makes money. If we get second place, we double our money, and if we get third through 6th, we get nothing. Let's see if we can pull the chat to the front. Not that it matters, because I don't think anyone's chatting anyways. There we go. And so, yeah, the open limping is just a very weak strategy. We love to see it. We have found that, generally speaking, people play poorly at night, or a little bit worse. There's like a lot more kind of dead money type of spots. This is actually a decent hand to squeeze with. I think we're just not going to play aggressive because I think that people just won't fold as often as they should. This person's 3.5x raising. Now, while the open limps are generally weak, the 3.5x raises are small. And, well, you think, well, of course it's like that. What you in theory should be doing is you should be balancing your range. So you should occasionally limp extremely strong hands to prevent people from just like all-inning a lot or stuff like that over the top of your limps. And one of the problems with, we have top pair in the bottom left, but we actually we'll kind of just have no idea where we're at throughout most of the hand because there's so many people involved. We're going to come in for a small bet, and this is largely to protect because there's so many draws out there. There's 2 flush draws, there's every straight draw is out there. But at the same time, someone could have checked back 9s very easily on the flop, and now they have trips, right? So if we counter a big raise, well now I like betting big. If someone has ace-queen, they probably would have raised pre-flop. So this is basically the nuts. And on the double-paired boards, those tend to favor overbetting a little bit more. If we get raised, we'll have a little bit of a decision. But the only hands that beat us are ace-queen, 9s, and aces, which is impossible to have because we have one of the aces. A little unfortunate not to get a call. And if we see a bunch of limps, we might limp along with this, just kind of trying to spike a flush draw. Okay, we're going to limp along. Now, the reason this is very exploitable is because the big blind can just, raise a lot. We don't think our 2 is going to be good here. We will fold to a half-size bet or larger. If they bin bet, we will call. But let's get everything back up to the fronts. And we have 2 pair. We're going to bet kind of on the bigger size. I'm going to bet nearly a full pot. Generally speaking, well, we're betting like this because 10s and jacks, any 10 and any jack will have, and we're going to bet a little bit smaller here. I think we have to call for the 9 big blinds. We don't love it, but yeah. And we flop good, which is always nice. This guy min raises us. I think we're just going to call the min raise. We kind of hate it. If he has a... Well, what do we lose to here in this spot? So what is he checking the flop with, calling on the turn, and then min raising? The min raising is just so nutted, but we have better than top pair, so I think we're just gonna... Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I'm glad he min raised and didn't raise bigger. I think we might have called bigger as well, but I'm glad we also thought that through a little bit. Even though eventually we made the incorrect decision, I think we were right that we should just, when he min raises there, even though it's such a small raise, people as a population, they just don't min raise the river with bad hands, just ever. Right, that range is not balanced with bluffs properly because people just call, and so one of the ways you can get an advantage is by having the ability to fold in those spots. And I think we're supposed to fold a queen there. So a little bit unlucky, I guess. I think occasionally I hate when they lead like this. When they lead like this, usually it stinks of like protection. So like a 7. We're gonna bet, and the idea is we want to occasionally be betting our second pair hands, and this is our strongest second pair hand we can have. And so we want to be betting our very strongest. I think his range is weak. If he min bet raises, which people sometimes do, his range will be extremely nutted. But that is, and we have a hand we can bluff with here. This is a hand this is a flop texture that we can kind of exploitatively bluff kind of small on, because people will often not flop very good on these like low card. And I'm glad we got a good price on our bluff, I guess. Either he just doesn't believe us, which isn't what I think, or he just like spiked a pair, or he's just playing like ballistic. We're gonna look to build a pot with our queen 9, but we're gonna bet a little bit smaller. We're gonna open jam 7/8 suited. This is a nice jam for 7 blinds. We'll have a lot of equity when we're called. We'll be like 60-40 dog, and sometimes we'll just get it through like this and pick up blinds. Why don't we put our spot here so we're not confused. We like to play with our seat at the corners, and we are going to rip over the top here with this suited ace. Sometimes we'll run into it here. His raising, people often have raising and limp strategies. We're just going to call with the ace queen. We have him dominated. After he thinks this long, I don't think he has us beat. Nice. We pick up queens in the top right table. We're going to call along with the 7-9 suited. We're going to limp with the queens. Now, our limping range right now is entirely exploitative. We are only limping with really nutted hands, with the hope that our opponent will spike something or will spaz and think we're not that strong. I think we should have bluffed here in the bottom right. And now we're going to jam over the top of this 3x raise. And we managed to hit the nuts. It's going to be hard for us to get any money in the bottom right, but maybe we will. Unfortunate for him, he just kind of runs into it, which was the story of our night like an hour ago. We will jam over the top of this with the 7s. And it's a coin flip. He spikes a 7. So maybe we're not going to have the run hot. I think I like this as a raise fold in the top right. So we are raising with the plan to fold to a jam. We spike a pair. He just shoves. I think with a pair and being up and down, we just have to go with this. He's going to have draws sometimes. He has us beat right now. We have tons of equity. Almost too much equity. See, the thing is when you have outs, you don't want to have too many outs, because then you just always get unlucky. This isn't mathematically true, but it's just, in terms of poker tilt, it is true. If you bet's really small, maybe we can call it. We are not calling a pot size bet on the bottom left with our 7s. And the reason we would maybe call this some of the smaller bets is because we have the backdoor flush equity here. But when people bet pot, they are overwhelmingly distributed towards value. So, and we will record that we won. So off to a good start. Now we are up on the day. We lost $12 in our session about an hour ago. That will never be immortalized on the YouTubes. I don't know why it doesn't auto-record VODs. Hopefully this one goes through. I guess we should have just tested, but okay. If you hear like a fan burring, that's the sound of my toaster laptop trying to... It's wondering where it all went wrong. Why it has to live in this horrible existence of being our toaster laptop where we're trying to stream and play poker at once. We already lagged with playing poker. Like this setup, this lags us without the streaming. Specifically when the table's open or we regenerate tables is really when it kicks in. You know, and this is not a resource intensive thing. It's incredibly tilting when you like lag and you have aces and you like fold the aces. That's like the worst, but you know, sometimes you get lucky when you just auto fold aces. Because sometimes you would have just gotten stacked with the aces. It's like really never the way you look at it in real time, but that's like kind of that is the truth. We're about at our starting stack size in the bottom left, which is 3rd of 6, so middle of the pack. Got a little unlucky to run into a straight with 2 pair, but I think we had a nice little think before we called it off, so that's good. Gonna check if we're... Oh no, wait, we're not. We don't have this stream open. Which is probably why things are running so smoothly and the guy gets a straight. Ace Queen, so we will be raising pretty big over a limp here. Or we will be 3x opening ourselves. So we will do 120 to go. I expect this guy in the bottom right to jam fairly often or fold. Alright, we'll just check. We flopped some amount of equity. No showdown value, though. We will bluff here, because the deuce isn't going to hit him very much. And people's checking range is notoriously weak. Or, like, as a population, people do not protect their checking range often enough. So we are going to be bluffing almost every time people check to us. Okay, we flop 2 pair in the bottom left, and we have the ace of clubs, so this is a very good candidate to check back to protect our checking range. We're going to jam over the top of this guy. Okay, so now we got to start building a pot. It's going to be very hard to get a call here. This is a type of texture that we would kind of want to bet bigger on, so we're going to bet bigger as we begin to lag. And he's checked to us. We have a full house. I want to get a lot of value. I'm going to bet pot and hope that he calls with an ace. Cool. So this is the guy we got unlucky against earlier. Maybe we could have gone for even more than a pot size bet, but I don't know. We had basically the nuts. I think we... Can't remember if the queens were paired or the aces were paired. So if he could have had quads or no. But obviously if he has quads, he just has quads. I'm not sure I like this as an open raise. We flop very good. Kind of a little too much to jam. I think I would have... I don't like our bet sizing. I think we should have done 3/4 pot in the bottom right. Because when we have a 5 here, we're going to bet pretty big. We're going to jam now. And I think it's going to be hard for him to call, and if he does call, we'll have pretty good equity. It's also going to be hard for him to have a 5. And so, yeah. And as far as resembling our population, when our population misplays, often when this population like hits a really strong hand, they just jam it in there. They just get so excited and they stick it in, which is not a very good strategy in a general sense. And so... we are just pretending to be one of those fumbling idiots who just sticks it in right there when we have our draw. We have a big raise, and I think we are just going to bump it up to a size that commits him. And we're going to min raise with the 4s and seat ourselves in our normal spot so we don't get confused. Yeah, he does just like commit himself. Awful for him in terms of like equity, but also like that's a bit of a spaz, I think. But you know, you're allowed to get lucky, and he does. And we can't call a jam with the 4s, I don't think. This many ways. It looks like it stinks of squeeze, but I still think I don't know. Checks around. I don't think we were yeah, we're in the big blind. I'm not gonna. I think this is an okay spot to bluff, but we just don't have much equity. Now we could have a flush. I think that we're gonna bluff. We're gonna make it a little half-size bet and expect it to get through most of the time. He hits a 6 on the river, this guy, so oh well. This guy is open jamming 50 blinds, so this is a terrible strategy. Let's see. I'm the small blind. I'm gonna jam this in the bottom right. Now, in the bottom left, if this guy's continually spazzing, I think we can just come for a call on with the 3x raise. I think we are deep enough that we can kind of set mine here. And we are expecting to see more callers behind. If we see a squeeze, it's unfortunate. And we hit a set. Bottom set, so we will be raising any of his continuations. And we're going to bet pretty big. This is kind of a wet flop. If we have top pair, you want to bet big to protect. We're going to bet 3/4. Could probably bet a little bit bigger. And we're going to jam the bottom right. Having the removal of having ace high as well as the removal of the aces is really important. We don't manage to get any callers, but that's okay. And we're in okay shape against the king jack. He has too many outs now, and so he's of course going to lose. Yeah. You cannot win with that many outs, my guy. I wish I knew my jamming range is better. I think this might be a jam, but I'm just going to fold it. We're still a little skittish after our losing session earlier, so we're probably going to play a little more passive than we ought to. But that's okay, because our ROI, like, going into today is like roughly 20%, so that's like, that's a lot. We have to call this for 7 blinds with the ace. We take turns getting unlucky. I get unlucky that he has a hand with so much equity, and he gets unlucky that that equity does not, realize. And then we have big lick in the bottom right, which we don't need to play into a jam. Just fold the 9-5. Big lick, of course, is a reference to both it being 9-6 as well as ace king is big slick. We are in the money again in the bottom right. This guy is coming in for 5x raises. He's done it twice. He's turned into an absolute maniac pre-flop. We're going to be jamming with the king. King rag makes an excellent jam when you're short, because king, it plays very poorly post-flop, because half the time you flop a pair, it's like bottom pair with the like 3, and you like don't know where you're at. And we get snapped off, and he gets unlucky, it looks like. Yeah. Team always lucky. I'm glad the people who get to watch the VODs will see only us getting lucky and not us running into aces for an hour. Which is like, I swear, what happened an hour ago. We won another table, so we will put down a win. So now we started, I forget what we even started. We started like down, we started at 39, so we're up like $12 so far on the day. But if we lose on both these tables, we'll be not up $12, right? We get 3x'd by someone who only has 8 blinds, which is terrifying. We hope someone else gets involved in the pot so that we like don't have to agonize over a decision. And we come in for a call with the 5s. I think 5s actually are a decent raising hand. We should have considered 3-betting. I don't like that we didn't consider it, but I'm actually fine with just calling it as well. In general, I like 3-betting some amount of our lowest pocket pairs we want to continue with, and now we're in an awkward spot. I think if we call, we have to stop and go him, so this is effectively a call for our entire stack, and the 3x sizing just like looks crazy strong relative to a shove. I would have much rather called a shove than to play that hand, because I think we have to just call, And then if an ace doesn't come on the flop, we just have to jam flop. Hopefully we get to stick it in him in response, which is, of course, is the purest form of retaliation. And if this guy limped, we would jam over him. King 9 actually might be strong enough to jam over him anyways, I think. So I think we will run into it sometimes, but I think this is ahead of his range overall. And even when called, I think we have decent equity, which is what happens here. Obviously, we get busted, but that's okay. So we will record our loss and continue on our merry way. Close some of these like extra tables, and then we get to focus a little bit more on this table. Or open more tables. Generally, I have 4 table, but with the combination of like, with this guy sitting out, no, this is still too loose. The 10-6, especially, we generally want to play a little bit looser because this guy's like playing like a maniac, and so we like don't have to. It looks like there's not too many things running, so. But yeah, with that guy playing like a maniac in the bottom right corner, we don't really need to. We can actually play slightly more conservatively, even though he's not to our left. If he's to our left, we actually have to play a lot more conservatively, but he's doing like these wild like jams and like, I don't know, like the frequencies seem, either he's just getting a lot of hands, which is entirely possible, and it definitely happens fairly frequently in poker, or he's playing a little bit aggressive, which we kind of assume it's the latter. We're actually going to reg another Hyper Turbo. Excited to not see anyone regged in it so far. I kind of like being first in on the reg. Generally, the game seems a little bit softer when you're first in on the reg, because that means someone's not searching for that table specifically and then regging it. Once there's like any number of people regging it, then it like goes to the top of the thing, and so then you get all the people coming along being like, oh, that looks like a fun game, which are the people you want in your games. As in like the people who you think are kind of soft spots. I think we can fold to this 3x raise with 9-7 suited, 9-7 off. I think if we if we don't have the read on the population, that the population has a mixed strategy of limping and raising, and that the raising strategy is unbalanced to value, and the limping strategy is unbalanced to like what should be your bluff hands, then we wouldn't do that. We'll just call along with the Queen 9. We expect to see a flop and just realize some equity. Depth is starting to get a little bit bigger. This is perhaps the weakest king we'll raise, so we'll probably, if this guy like goes ballistic on us, we'll fold. And so maybe we shouldn't be raising this to begin with. We flop good on the bottom right. I think we just want to check, and I don't think we want to raise, even though there's a diamond draw, a pot-sized bet. If we raise, he probably goes with his hand, right? So maybe we should raise, but we kind of want to get someone to come along. I don't know what we're supposed to do here. We're not worried about the flush anymore. We're not really, we just think we're splitting the pot. And that actually seems like a decent bluff candidate. I mean, like, he's going a little bit ballistic there. But, he blocks, with the Jack 8, he blocks 8-9, and he blocks Jack 9. And so, again, King 7 may be a hand we could play in position, but we are folding because the 3.5, our population read on the way people raise pre-flop is, this is an exploitative fold maybe, and if we thought that this guy was always 3.5x raising and was like playing a certain strategy, and we could maybe call here. But yeah, we would have been in terrible shape against that. All of these tables pay out the top 2, which is just something to keep in mind. And in the bottom left, we have an open limp. We have open limp solid round. We flop pretty good in the top right. It's it's a hand we can just check down, and the reason why is because we have the flush insurance, and we also have a kind of small weak hand, and so it plays pretty well with that. We flop decently in the right. This is not a board that favors our range enough for leading. Like a 2-3-5 board is the type of board we would lead on. This guy bets 3/4 pot. That is quite a big bet. With the other person calling and us closing the action, we will come along, expecting to get paid off when the flush hits. We don't pick up any equity. If this guy bets again, and he bets maybe smaller this time, yeah, and if this guy calls, we'll come along. Okay. We could also play this as a race. If both these guys play really tepid, I might jam, but probably don't need to play that aggressive. I can probably just give up here. Yeah, just checks around. Definitely don't have a problem with our play there. We put ourselves in a really good position to make some money. The 3x open. I think this guy's been mostly 3x opening. We have to try and remember if try and keep an eye if he limps. This is not a hand. This is a hand that we're either folding or we're raising. I think I've seen him go ballistic enough that I don't want to. I think he's probably 4-betting a percentage of his opens that would makes it so that 3-betting's not the play. That's what I'm trying to say. Because when we 3-bet with this, it's definitely a bluff. We'll open the king 8 off if it folds to us. And we are kind of getting to the point where we're gonna like start getting closer and closer to opening by min raising. In the top right, with the back door, with one of our weaker aces and the backdoor flush draw, we are going to bet, and we are going to continue if we hit either like a draw in terms of the straight, like if we hit an 8, we'll be up and down, or if we hit a diamond, we will continue betting. This is not a card we'll continue betting on, so we're just going to check back and look to check river. This is a good card for our range. This means we might call a bet. This is a really small bet, so we're just going to call it. And I don't know why people make these like third pot bets sometimes with like absolute. Well, a lot of times when people bet a quarter pot on the river, they're just bluffing. Which is yeah, people their bet sizing is like full of tells. We will be folding to this action in the top right. We want no part of that shit. Yeah, both very strong. So if it folds to me, I will call. I will not call over a fold, or over a jam and a call. Just because it's fairly often will be dominated like this with the ace-queen, and then our only out is the jack. I think we could reasonably bluff raise here, but we're just going to check. We're going to fold here. And I don't think this is a good spot to bluff. We do have some backdoor straights, but I like just checking back. Now, I like having higher equity bluffs. Although it's kind of hard to have a bluff here. We do have overs to the 3, and as a general population thing, people will not be checking back good hands very often. They do not balance or defend their checking ranges very well, so we're just kind of, if the spot seems decent enough, we'll attack it with hands we don't think we should attack it with, like that hand. Because it has no equity. It has no like additional like draws or equity really. We'll raise with the 9-7 or the Jack 9 of diamonds, and we will fold this, I guess. Actually, we should have raised, because this guy open limped, and he has not had an open limping strategy. I think we should have raised to, like, Yeah, I think our strategy was to raise fold with the jack 9. Maybe we should have open shoved. Feels bad to fold that one. 5x raise. Man, people are playing freaking... It feels like so much wilder than they were like just 1 hour ago. This is crazy. Like the game seems so much softer now. Maybe it just seems softer because we're not running into aces. We like jammed and like 4 times in like an hour we just ran into aces. It was super tragic. We of course complained about it. This will be a raise call. We will call off with this. This guy's been attacking blinds very, very often. And he is raising to attack the blinds. This guy gets it in bad, but what can he do? We're going to jam in the top right for 11 blinds with the king 6. Not over that. So, we're going to raise for value in the bottom right. We do not think he's ever doing this ace, queen, ace, king. We flop decently. If we had the king of diamonds, we would look to check this. We will bet kind of. This is a bit of a scary turn card. We're up and down, so we're gonna check call. He bets a very small sizing as well. We're gonna call most of the rivers. We kind of expect him with that small sizing to have a queen himself a lot of the time. We're just gonna call. We're not gonna jam. He's gonna sometimes have what he had exactly. I think his pre-flop play is a little suspect, but open, yeah, whatever. That's okay. We block like so much of the stuff, and we just have a really bad hand, so we're gonna bet. We're gonna jam again here. We are going to be all in next hand anyways. I think we can jam with the 6-8 for 12 blinds. I'm not sure exactly. We get it in queen 8, which is nice, and we are in good shape. Yeah. And we run into aces on this board. We're going to bet here. I'm gonna just trying to record that we got knocked out, which is fine. This guy raises, but we have top pair. And then he checks. This is like so weird if he like jams. We're just gonna all in here. Yeah, I mean that makes sense for him to check there, but I think that was, yeah, I don't think we should have played that different. Alright, we're gonna all in with ace queen. Maybe be unregistering this if we get knocked out. But not. So we're gonna record first. We got knocked out. We've now lost a very nice number of these. Still up on the sesh. This plays well as an open jam, I guess, for this amount. I'm just gonna play it as a raise fold, I think, though. So if this guy jams on us, we'll fold. And we get it in, and he's dominated against the 7-8. Don't hit enough low cards, though, for it to matter. So we are going to try and find another table to reg. This is maybe a reasonable jam hand. I think we are still trying to play post with these guys, though. This is a very good flop to bet. He thinks so too. I think he's fucking around, but I think he's probably fucking around with king high or ace high, so I think we're just in bad shape. We'll have plenty of pocket pairs here. Not too many pairs that like hit the board, but I think we call with our aces there. But I think he has some semblance of the right idea, which is that it's really hard for us to connect on that flop. It's also hard for him to connect on that flop, so that, like, it's a little smelly, that jam. doesn't smell good. Guy runs into it with the 6-4 suited. We will be jamming this for 11 blinds, pretty much over any action. I guess if this guy open jams, we'll have a little bit of a think. Oh, that's so brutal. Alright. So we do not have a spot for the sit and go, so we will have to make a new one. And we will just play this last table until we're done here, because our slow table finished. Kind of just ran into it at the end there, but there's not much you can do. I think you just have to shove the 6s. They don't function very well as a raise call, because when you raise and someone raises over you, often they'll have 2 overs, and sometimes they'll have an overpair, so you're just in really bad. This guy shoved 2 hands in a row. So that's he might just be shoving every hand, in which case we'll start calling really wide. This is a hand we would open if it folded to us. This guy also seems pretty active. But since this guy's shoving a lot, we will tighten down our opening range and then also call a little light against him. Really would love to see him jam on this guy, but he does not. Weird lead. So I don't think he has a range advantage on that board. So if he's leading into the pre-flop aggressor without a range advantage and like on a board that like his opponent can very easily hit, then I think that when we are in position against this guy, we will bet more than we should. And the reason being, when he checks, we expect him to just generally be weaker than he ought to, because I think he has a value leading range. We'll call the min bet with the ace-8. I think we could also jam. I don't hate either play. I like the call here with our ace-high on the paired board. I think we have to select some hands to call. I don't think this makes much sense as a bet. I think we just check and maybe look to call. Queen's not really a good card for us. We are going to check call. If he had a queen, he would have bet it. And we win with the ace-high. This is maybe a hand we can open jam. I think I'm just going to play it as a raise if it folds to us. We're just going to fold if this guy raises. And he is adjusting his sizing. I think he was 3xing when the blinds were 20, and now he's min-raising. Maybe he's just adjusts his sizing when the blinds go up, or maybe he has 2 separate raising ranges. Probably the latter. Interesting way to play this, but okay. Maybe it had a draw, or maybe hit his draw. I don't know. We have a pretty strong hand. I'm gonna play it as a raise call. I think I'll call this guy if he jams, and then this guy I will be I'll squirm. Now if this guy calls, I think I can fold. But definitely can't fold to this guy. Too much equity, too much money already invested. Feels bad. This is almost a hand we can jam. For 7, actually I think this is a jam. We will have decent equity when we're called, and we have fold equity. And we're at like 7 blinds, and if we get this through, we get up to 8.5, which is like no small increase. you know, when they call, generally they'll have two overcards. But we'll have two unders and flush opportunities. So, we don't like when he voids our flushes, but, you know, we can hit a pair. We're out. So overall, this session wasn't too bad. Started off really strong, and then kind of ran into it a bit, but up $8 on the session, so that's good, which leaves us down a little bit on the day, but that's okay. We actually do not have a section. We're not up $8. We're up like $3 because we did not have a section for hopefully this doesn't mess up the. So we have to make just the 6 max regular. We lost one. I think it has a 525 buy-in. We're going to double check what the buy-in size is. It's 550. Which is maybe why we don't see these run very often. Because there's more rake in them, which leaves us up $2 on the session. Overall, it's a pretty good session. We ran good early on, and then started to run not so good later on. Ran into it a little bit with our jam on our slow table with the 6s. I think we played some good spots, or we played some spots well, you know, with our population reads, and then just got unlucky a couple times. Got lucky a couple times too. That's really poker. That's how that goes. But hopefully, I don't think we have anyone in the stream, so this is mainly addressing YouTube. If you have any comments, suggestions, or anything like that, feel free to comment, like, subscribe, do all the YouTube algorithm stuff. We will be uploading this to both, pretty much unedited, as poker players should, I guess. I don't know. Not trying to hide anything, especially because we're just showing this, which is like how we're doing, like on the month or whatever. Started playing again last month, mainly the $1 ones. Now we've switched to mainly $5 tables, and we're doing okay. You know, having a double-digit ROI over like a reasonably large sample size is pretty nice. It means it feels fairly close, low variance. We might take a shot at $10 hypers, depending on how things are going. Yeah, have a good one.